So hey guys, the fall weather's really been feeling like it's showing up here. A lot of excitement. I absolutely love the fall. I don't know, there's something about it, really makes it feel like home when you're outside working in the cool weather. You come in, the house is being heated by a nice wood stove. It's so warming. You got all the hunting seasons kicking off. Right now we got early goose going. Another 2 weeks we got duck hunting season kicking off. Following that is pheasant and deer season. So there's just a lot of excitements going on. And not to mention, I just love working in sweatshirt type weather. So this video, I guess, will be a little bit of some random updates, some things I wanted to show you guys before we got into winter. We're trying to get things closed up a little bit. I wanted to show you our plan for the chickens this year, a feeder that I just built, as well as I wanted to show you guys some cantaloupe that have actually been working out really well for us this year. We've really struggled doing cantaloupe. Matter of fact, one of our neighbors has even given up on doing cantaloupe just because he's had so many failures. But you know, a lot of trial and error, and sometimes you stumble across something that works. This is a little different variety. You know, it's a little smaller, but it's about perfect for 2 people. A lot of times me and my wife will, you know, split one of these at dinner time or something. And these are called Minnesota Midgets. We ended up getting them from Baker's Creek, and they do really well in cooler climates, and they are so good, so juicy. I think it's some of the best fruit I've ever had. They smell really nice and sweet. My one complaint about these is they turn pretty quick. They start going from this green color to more of this yellow color, and it happens pretty quick where they can become overripe very, very quickly. So you got to keep a pretty close eye on them, but man, they're so good. So if you're someone that's struggling growing cantaloupe, give these guys a try. They are a little bit smaller, but I'll tell you what, they are well worth it. We also have a bunch of cannon pumpkins starting to come about here. These are looking pretty good. You can see they're a lot smaller than like your traditional jack-o'-lantern. We've done these the last couple years, really like them a lot, and use these for like making pumpkin pies and stuff in the fall time. My wife a lot of times will end up just slicing them, throw them in the oven, and then she does some other kind of magic to them, and next thing you know, we're eating pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving. Oh man, there's nothing that beats that. So obviously we finished up putting the rest of our sweet corn to bed here. We had another row or two left, a few little sweet corn cobs sitting out there. The chickens have been eating on those the last few days. They've been loving it. Definitely noticed a little drop in normal food consumption for them, so it's been kind of nice on that aspect. Absolutely been loving this chicken coop, the portable coop. Been able to move them into the garden, let them work, and fertilize the soil for next year. It's just been a great little thing. However, Minnesota, January 2nd, 3rd week, it gets pretty cold here on average. Negative 20s, 30 degrees before the wind chill. And I don't think this coop's gonna cut. So we're gonna actually have to move them into the static coop for the winter where it's insulated. The other thing is I'm trying to change up the feeder system a little bit. And I ended up building one utilizing the excess materials from when we built this. So this thing ended up costing nothing. It probably could have been constructed a little bit better, but because I was trying to utilize some of these things, I just had to make things work. But I think this thing will work out pretty good. So sometimes I think little small things can go a long ways. We're gonna try something a little different this year. We're actually gonna move all the chicken food and water outside over the winter. There's a couple reasons that we want to do this. One is we ended up with mice in our coop one winter. It was really a pain to try to manage and deal with and get on top of, because you don't want to set traps out that the chickens could get into. You don't want to put poison out because you don't want the chickens to get into that. Or worse yet, sometimes you hear about chickens going and attacking mice if they find them. And if they just ate some of that poison and now they're pecking at it, it eventually finds its way into our food system. So trying to find a way to naturally and organically deal with some of those issues. The other thing too is chickens especially like a buff Orpington, do pretty well in cold weather. It's not the cold that actually is a bad thing, it's the moisture. And the way that we've dealt with the water in the past with the cold winters here is a lot of times we have a big base heat plate that we lay down inside the coop, and then we have an 8-gallon metal water system. And sometimes it's a little cold out, you got gloves on, you got snowbanks that you're kind of tripping and bobbing over, and you end up spilling some water into the deep mulch over the winter, and then there's a lot of moisture in the coop. It's just not the most ideal thing for the chickens. So I thought, kind of getting all these things crossed off the list, all we gotta do is just move this stuff outside. However, it does add a couple little different hurdles, but I think this feeder might help with some of these things. So this is the solution I ended up coming up with. Really, probably would have done it a little bit differently if I had gone out and purchased the materials. For example, you can see like this panel here doesn't extend the full length, so I end up having to use another little scrap piece. But that sits underneath, so if moisture was coming down this, it should just roll on over. I think the one thing I will end up spending some money on is actually a latch for this roof system, and be able to latch this right to this. And if you look, the roof actually opens just like the coop itself, and then you're able to access all these units. You can see I got a feed system built over here. If you look in here, you can see actually a slanted board going down, and then the food kind of rolls out down here at the bottom, and then I have this ridge down here. You can see I got a couple 2x2s just to make this ridge stick up enough, but the chickens be able to stick their head in there, eat that, and then hopefully this roof, it's got enough overhang that moisture won't get in there, but I guess we'll see. And one of my big worries is whether we get a drift coming across there or not. Then of course the water system here, very easily to access. We have several of these buckets all set up, and we ended up switching over to more of a side water nipple system. And I've been really much more happy with these. You don't have to have any sort of contraption to be able to move these around versus the ones that hang down at the bottom. There's that metal plate I was talking about, the heating plate, and this is like an indoor-outdoor type one. Ideally, it's supposed to be protected from the elements somewhat, so I'm hoping that's what this unit will do a good enough job of. And then also in the back side, where you got the power cable hooked up here, or will hook up, I have a lanyard that kind of wraps and keeps the wires all nice and tidy here. And when I connect it up, that connection will be held up and off the ground where there's a lot of moisture, and hopefully keep things going nice. And then we can easily just come in here, swap these out when needed, and we'll start switching to this as we move more into the fall. Like for example, we haven't put any feed in there yet, but we will do that once kind of get into late October, early November, when we decide to move them to the static coop. We'll just kind of see how they do with these temps. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or ideas, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas or questions, and maybe I can address them, why I took a certain route on something or not. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.